My name is Anna Jeffries, and I'm the Public Information Officer at the Licking County Board of Developmental Disabilities. And today I'd just like to share with you a little bit of a presentation that I did recently called How to Write ISPs People Want to Read. Now, just kind of a little bit about me. I started out my career as a newspaper journalist. I was at a newspaper here in Licking County for about 8 years. Was doing some reporting even before that at my college paper, and came to the DD system in 2016. But when I got hired as the PIO in Licking County, one of the things that I felt very strongly about was that I wanted to make sure that I wasn't leaving the things that I loved about my journalism career behind. And that meant I didn't want to stop interviewing people and I didn't want to stop telling stories. And I was very fortunate that what I found was that the DD field has so many opportunities to tell good stories. And it wasn't really until very recently that I thought about how many storytelling opportunities there are when you're writing somebody's plan. So that's something I wanted to talk about today. And I will just shout out to my Licking County Board of DD SSAs, Amanda, Rachel, and Hannah. As somebody who doesn't write ISPs for a living, I do a lot of writing about the county board. I do a lot of things, but I don't write ISPs. I really had to rely on some of our rock stars to give me some suggestions and advice, kind of to build a framework to put this presentation around. So shout out to them. This would not be possible without them. But one of the things as I started to prepare for this and learn about ISPs is just how similar they are to a profile of a person. So really what we're trying to do is make sure that we tell a person's story. We reflect what their life looks like when everything is going well. And I think for me, and I know for the folks at my agency that are great at writing plans, one of the things that they're thinking about is, what would you want your ISP to say about you? I think that we always want to think about the fact that no person is ever their best day or their worst day. And I think about it not only from my own perspective, but as the perspective of a parent. What would I want to see about my son or daughter if I picked up their ISP? What would I want their narrative to be? So thinking about that, I think, is a really good way to start. I'm a big proponent of words matter. They, obviously in our field, they matter a lot. The way we talk about people really sets the stage for how they feel about themselves and others. So making sure that we're very careful with our words and not only careful with our words, but also using our words strategically. Obviously, space is limited, time is limited, and one of the concepts that we really embrace in journalism is show, don't tell, which basically means, making sure that you're not telling somebody about something, but you're using words that show. And we'll talk more about that later. But just a reminder that, these ISPs are snapshots in time, just kind of like a good newspaper article. There's always going to be follow-up. There's always going to be addendums. There's always going to be questions. It's going to change, and it should, because we want people's lives to change for the better as they go through each year. So the way I've kind of broken this down is there's kind of the gathering of the information, and there's also the writing part. And gathering the information is just as important as the writing. During that discovery period while you're talking to people, not only listening to what they're saying very actively, but paying attention to their surroundings. So looking around, is their room purple? It's probably their favorite color. Do they have OSU stuff everywhere? Using those things to help paint that picture and tell that person's story. Just by paying attention to the things in their life that are clearly important to them. Not only will that save you a question, but I think it also will help you start good conversations. And I think another thing that I always found to be really effective with interviewing people and gathering information is just making sure that it is a flowing conversation. Making sure that you're not asking questions that bring you a yes or no answer. Making sure that you keep it open-ended. How do you feel about that? What's an example of that? Giving people ways to motivate them to say more. And just kind of remembering that if you don't get anything in the meeting, following up is a really great way to talk to someone and learn even more about them. One thing that I will share that's always served me very well This is something I really learned early on in my journalism career, is just wrapping every interaction up with, is there anything else you want to say, or is there anything else I should know? I think this gives people kind of permission to share, and not only share what they think they should be talking about, but maybe just really take ownership and empowerment and share kind of what they want to say about themselves. I think it's definitely a nice way to tell people that you're interested in what they have to say. So then we go into a writing phase, and obviously getting into this phase, thinking about who we want to write this plan for. Obviously the person we support, but also their DSP or a caregiver, somebody that's going to be learning about them. And as I said before, what would you want your ISP to say about you? If you're a parent looking at this, if you're somebody that, we want people to feel pride, we want people to feel dignity, we want to be honest about information that needs to be conveyed. But I think there's ways to do that really acknowledges the person that we support, but also makes life easier for the people reading this plan who are helping that person. We want people to see themselves in their ISP. We want them to feel like it's a valuable document that actually says something about them. And one way to do that is to make sure that we're using their words, that we're writing something that they will understand. We're reflecting that back to them. So whether that means somebody's using pronouns, or someone's using identity first language or person first language, we want to make sure that they can recognize themselves in the things that we write. Also, reading level is a huge thing to keep in mind, especially with not only people we support, but the people who are supporting them. And there's actually things you can do to run your ISPs that you write, take copy and paste paragraphs into a readability calculator that will tell you what readability is. I have definitely put things into those calculators and it's come back as a 9th or a 10th grade level, and I think that's a wake-up call to me that I need to really think about simplifying my writing. Using quotes is very much okay and encouraged in plans. We just want to make sure that we are actually quoting somebody, and that's the only time we would ever use the third person, is when they're talking about themselves for real. But if you can jot down quotes accurately, that's a great way to kind of tell somebody's story. A quote that I loved is, there was a young lady in a plan that said, I'm the mom of my group of friends. And I love that quote because she said it and I know exactly what that means. Like, I know who that person is because I'm envisioning somebody who is, very much taking care of her friends, planning things for them to do, knows what everyone else has going on. And I think it says a lot about that person in a really simple way. So using those quotes is definitely a great way to get to know somebody. And obviously you want to be honest about things. You want to be honest about challenges. Like, I don't think it does anybody any good to sugarcoat things that need to be very clear, especially if it's related to safety. But I think, coming at that at a perspective of what a person can do. I think I've talked to some service coordinators, some SSAs who have said, the thing that's really hard is when you open up someone's plan and you see words like they will never or they can never. And I think that just kind of reframing that can really do a lot to change the tone of that plan. So this is the slide where I'm going to talk a lot about just this concept of show, don't tell. But before I do that, just a couple other tips. Want to make sure that we're going for quality over quantity, avoiding redundancy, not copying and pasting information from one paragraph to another. People can always tell when something is copy and pasted. And not overthinking. We are human beings writing plans, and human beings are reading the plans. So the biggest priority is just to communicate accurately and authentically, and everything else should work out well. Finding a copy editor is something that I've found very valuable because I admittedly am very bad at editing my own writing. So if you have a caseload buddy or a partner in your office or someone who can look over the things that you write, that can really help. Just catching all those little errors and typos and things that I do all the time. And making sure that you're including some of the really fun specific details you gathered in the interview. This is where that show don't tell idea comes in. Like we said before, words matter. and the right word can really paint a picture for someone and eliminate the need for an entire paragraph. These are some examples that have come from plans that I used to get ready for this presentation. And, one of the phrases in the plans that I loved was, just this simple, loving mom to her hamsters. It's just a couple words, but it really tells me so much more about that person than a paragraph about, the caretaking responsibilities and what that says about her skills. I know that she is taking care of those hamsters not only expertly, but just that they are spoiled rotten. And I just think that says so much about this person and what's important to them and how they prioritize their life. Just using things like brilliant at math instead of, a long list or a drawn out explanation of the things that a person can do. I don't need to know the details to know that this person has an ability that is brilliant and that they're great at math. So I think just those are some examples of how we can use words to paint a picture. We can use words to show. And I think that we want to make sure we're doing that for exciting things, but also challenges. We want to be able to, as opposed to telling somebody where somebody works and the hours that they work and, how they get there, really showing, what does their best day at work look like? Bob comes in at 8 and immediately gives the cashier a high five. That's a story that we can tell using really descriptive words and really showing, when things are going perfectly in Bob's day, what does that look like? And I think we can also use that to talk about challenges that a person might be going through, especially when we talk about safety. Getting really specific and giving a good example can really help somebody understand what's going on. One of the examples in a plan that I loved was they told a story about a person who got kind of disoriented while they were walking out in the country, and they, sincerely believed that someone would find them and take them home, pick them up and take them home. So instead of writing, a paragraph that says, this person has no idea how to navigate, they don't have a regard for their personal safety, they'll get in the car with a stranger, we could tell people all those things, or we could show them an example and really not only get really specific about what a person might need support with, but also just, give a dignified example of something that might be a challenge for them. So I hope this has been helpful. I just want to thank all of you for what you do. You have such an important job writing these plans, getting outcomes from people. It's just such a huge part of our system. And if there's anything I can ever do to help or just nerd out about storytelling, I put my contact information at the beginning and would love to talk to folks. So thank you again and have a great day.